Now, this has been something that I've spoken about here on this show. You may recall a young lesbian, Jess Hoyle, who, contrary to the usual brand of left-leaning lesbian activism, she's been standing up for common sense in Tasmania. Jess had attempted to organise a women's-only lesbian event in her hometown of Launceston, but she was criticised for failing to be inclusive to trans women who were not invited to attend the all-female event. Since then, the Tasmanian Civil and Administrative Tribunal has ruled she would not be able to hold what they call a discriminatory women's-only event. Unbelievable. Joining me now is Jess Hoyle and fellow activist Silver Moon. Great to see you both. Jess, great to have you back on the show. Now, what was the court's reasoning for refusing this protection to lesbian women?
Well, Rowan, pretty much they have conflated the whole law with gender and gender identity and sex. It's all mixed up. They even go as far as to say that it is protected, even though the Commissioner herself said that it isn't a protected attribute in Tasmania. So they've even conflicted with her judgment as well.
Jess, when we spoke before, and Silver, I'll ask you this question because you've stood by Jess throughout this ordeal, and we spoke to Jess a couple of months ago, and there was some hope that you would be able to hold this event, and that your firm belief is that as lesbian women, you have no interest in transgender women, i.e. people born as men, attending your event. Silver, what's your take on it?
Well, I'm 70 years old, so I've actually gone through periods of time early in my life where basically lesbians couldn't have any public events, to the point where all across Australia for the last 40 or 50 years now, we've had public women-only events for lesbians and other women happening without any kind of restriction. And now we've come up against this wall, and it is about how the government has chosen to do law that is meant to protect the interests of trans people. It's fair enough. But in the process of doing that, they have made a whole series of changes that actually disadvantage lesbians and gay men, and in particular women. Because Jess was asking for men to be excluded, what we were wanting is that we have a single-sex event. Now, there's nothing odd about single-sex events. Lots of us play for sports teams that are single-sex. Some people go to single-sex schools. Some people have religious practices that are single-sex. There's nothing odd about that. But what is now odd is that in Tasmania, the Anti-Discrimination Act doesn't address the problem of sex. It addresses a whole lot of other issues like age and disability and gender identity, but they've left sex out of the list of protected characteristics in the Act. And so that effectively means that any single-sex event, whether it's lesbians trying to meet together somewhere in some way, or a whole lot of other things that are very ordinary in the community, are at risk with, badly thought-out laws.
Thank you so much for coming on this evening. I'm sorry that the council are behaving like this. It is completely disgraceful, and I hope lesbians within Tasmania are going to fight on your behalf to stand up for your rights and forget about this ideological nonsense. Thanks both so much for coming on the show this evening, and good luck with your fight.